Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Deli podcast. It's been a minute since I've done one of these, but I definitely want to try to tap into like a different social media to maybe get some more players in here in the league. And I also want to get you guys some more Deli content, be able to make the league even more interactive. And I thought this would be a pretty good way to go about that. So here we are. Deli podcast is back. I'm not sure if I'm going to continue with the numbering or what I'm going to do with the episode title. But let's get right into it. Going to the end season Q&A right now, and we're gonna go over that. So this will be the Q&A episode. I posted on my story a bit ago, asking for some questions, end season questions, because we have, of course, just wrapped up the 37th regular season in Deli history. So let's get right into these questions. So this one is from Deli X Banks, Mr. Trey Banks, and his question is, what's Trey Banks' predicted move? And I'm going to quickly go check on his status. We'll do a quick look into his player. So he is on a contract year. He's coming off a definite career year where he looks like he could be a Defensive Player of the Year candidate. Those are his stats, as you can see. Very good season. Even got involved offensively at one point. I'm pretty sure that was towards the late part of the year. But overall, 7 interceptions and led the league in pass deflections with 45. Is pretty ridiculous. We kind of have pass deflections as a more generous stat than in real life. They do happen more in our league than they do in real life, just because we want to get cornerbacks more involved. We don't want, we want to get positions involved in any way we can. So we kind of just take the unrealistic approach on that one. But overall, Banks definitely was a lockdown cornerback this year, and he came out of nowhere in his year 27 season. By that, I mean he's 27 years old at this point. Most players do not have their very best season, their one breakout season, when they are 27. Usually it comes while they're still developing, and when he's thought to be entering his prime, he clearly takes that next leap and plays to the superstar level. So I definitely think it makes sense. So my predicted move would be, what makes the most sense to me would be that he probably ends up re-signing in Salt Lake City. He was a really good fit there, so I would guess that he probably finds his way back to the Elks. The next question is from Landon MC14, and he asks, what team surprised you the most this season? So we're looking at the standings just to help give myself the visual look about how every team did. But yeah, I think what team surprised me? Going into the season, there were certain teams that did improve a lot, that made sense. I would say the team that shocked me the most was probably the Austin Bats, going 10-6. They didn't really have necessarily, of the expansion teams, they didn't really have the best roster coming out of the draft. At least it appeared in hindsight. Obviously, Caleb Stidd quickly developed into a superstar, and Devontae Jones played like one of the top receivers in the league. And all that was joined by drafting Caleb Cash as a rookie QB who was pretty good right off the rip. Didn't turn the ball over a lot, which is huge for a rookie quarterback. Usually rookie QBs have turnover issues, and he just really translated pretty well to the pro level. And then they traded for Marcus Jones at the midseason, and Jones pretty quickly adapted to the Bat system and was able to accelerate the team and make them play even better. So I would say the Bats surprised me. I definitely wouldn't have seen them going 10-6 before the year for sure. Another team that definitely surprised me, I mean, there's going to be all the expansion teams with the Stars at 12-4. Definitely wouldn't have seen that coming, even with all the moves they made. I didn't really think that they had the necessary depth to do as well as they did. But similar to the Bats, they had some really good game plans, and they took advantage of their schedule when they needed to, and they beat the teams that they should, and they were able to upset a few teams. And then going off of that, I think that in the GFC, because we nailed 2 AFC teams, I would definitely say that looking at GFC Europe, the Monarchs and Astronauts were definitely surprising. I would have projected Monarchs to do better than they did last year, but 14-2 is definitely way exceeding the expectations that I think anyone had for them, especially in such a tough division. Even going into the year before the Astronauts broke out and were immediately a very good team. The Barcelona Warriors looked to be potentially the favorite to win that division, and they came up just short of the playoffs at 10-6. Even despite ending the year on a 5-game winning streak before losing in the final week of the season to the Astronauts. So I would say those would be my 4 main teams that surprised me the most. Next question is from SimX Sean, and he says, "Is Canarian Grant the GOAT?" Let's quickly check up his stats. I'm going to answer that. He's probably not the GOAT yet. He's just got finished up with his rookie season, but he definitely played really well. And I think something to note about Canarian Grant that won't show up in the stat sheet is that he was a very good return man for the Nobunaga. He played really well. He was obviously pretty effective as a ball carrier as well, despite not getting very many touches. I would have to do some math, but that's about 9 yards per carry, a little under that, so maybe about like 8.5 or something like that. And 7 receiving touchdowns on 30 catches is a great percentage. At 526 yards and 30 catches, that's like 17.5-ish yards per catch. Another very good indicator that Grant's on the up and up. And also another thing, Grant, he only got better as the season went along. He had definitely had a slow start to the season, but really started to find his own later into the season, heading into the playoffs. It's going to be very excited to see if he's a big factor coming the playoff time, because he definitely has the explosiveness to be able to make 1 or 2 big plays a game, and sometimes those are the difference maker in the playoffs. All right, so this next question comes from Roman 402.roman.z. What do you think about Roman Zuniga? As you can see, Roman had a really good year. Even got into like playing offense pretty well. Not pretty well, but he was effective at least. He got a rushing touchdown on a fullback carry at the 1-yard line. He even threw for a touchdown. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like he got a receiving touchdown there. But as a pass rusher, he had 9 sacks. Was obviously very good in stopping the run game. 2 forced fumbles, 3 fumble recoveries. I feel like the stats speak for themselves. He had a very good year. And if I check, I'm pretty sure he is younger than most prospects when he came into the league. So he has that going for him as well. Yep, he is only 21 years old. Most prospects are 22 when they come into the league, and he's already 87 overall at 21 years old, and that's before the end season overall updates. So definitely looks like a beast in the future, the next big thing on the interior defensive line. And he had an excellent season, is definitely going to be up for All-Pro consideration. Next question comes from Press X Ford. Who's going 1 overall? Who is going to be the first overall pick in the year 38 draft? That is a great question. I'm going to quickly look at the rankings, and it's really tough. Bryson Hart finally lost his number 1 ranking. He lost it a few times before, but this is the first time in a minute he's lost it. Yeah, let's see. DJ Plum got it here. And yeah, since then he hasn't lost it. But Quavion Smith, the new number 1. And so it's really tough. I just released a mock draft where I do have Bryson Hart going number 1. I'm going to pull that up real quick. So right now, that would be my prediction, is because of his longevity at that number 1 spot, the Pistons probably still lean towards him and go with him despite their need for defense and building a defense around Devon Octavio. I just didn't think that they'd probably go with a cornerback, which is right now probably the other thing that the Pistons would want to look at, just based on how the draft board falls and where these top prospects are rated. I could potentially see Dion Wright going there for sure, but I feel like the main option is going to be between like Hart and Smith, and I feel like they would go Hart over Smith at this point and then build on the defense later in the draft. So the next question is from Sim.Jackson. How do I leave a watch along of a Taylor Swift concert? Need this answered immediately. Well, I'll be honest, I do not know. I don't even know what a watch along is. But enjoy your Taylor Swift concert, my dude. This next question is from Black Tips Wave St. John's, and he asks thoughts on the future of the Black Tips. So the Black Tips had a very good second half of the year despite the slow start to the year. They really played respectable ball down the stretch in the season, finishing 7-9 and finishing the season overall pretty hot on a mostly winning streak with a few losses here and there. Players like Devontae Wayne really stepped up and found their own by the end of the season. He's just a rookie, so very promising rookie at that. He's definitely looking like one of the bright spots. And let me check exactly where he's, or I don't even think I need to. He was drafted in like the 6th round, so again, definitely looks like a bargain for the Warriors and a bargain for the Black Tips acquiring him for so little. Tarter has played a great role on the team as basically that Taysom Hill athlete, do-it-all QB to keep the defense on their toes. He's been great at that. The running back room has only improved as the season went along with the acquisition of Apple Kamara and the Jay Blue emergence late into the season despite a slow start to the season. He's been very inconsistent all year long, but he definitely shows flashes of being a really good running back in the red zone and as a receiving back. He's definitely been great. Doesn't really have the elusiveness you'd like to see out of a number one running back, but definitely has a place in this league going forward. And you definitely love to see if he can step up to that next level to become that full-time bell cow running back for the Black Tips. It looks like he's more likely to do it than Kamara, despite Kamara having the higher overall, but only time will tell. Wide receiver room, it looks pretty good. Danny Wiggs was probably their best receiver all year long, even including their star tight end, Thanos Metcalf IV. Wiggs was a great player all year, despite him cooling off towards the end of the year. Definitely going to be excited to see what he has coming next year. And then a great receiver like Theo King, who's just such a good possession receiver, great in the slot, great on the short routes, really efficient. So going to be excited to see where he goes. Daniel Mims was someone who overall pretty disappointing for the contract he has signed, but he definitely has the ability to be a great red zone threat and be a great overall consistent go up and get it type receiver, make some big catches. Part of the problem was he had cornerback ones on him all year, and obviously part of the problem was activity. So it's going to be interesting to see where this wide receiver room goes going forward. Then we can get onto the defense, and this is where the Black Tips struggle the most for sure. Besides P.J. Butler, they really don't have many defensive pieces that even look like they would have a long place in this league. But P.J. Butler is on his 5-year max contract and played absolutely amazing in his second year, and he looks to be a superstar in the making and definitely going to be a menace going forward for this Hawaii Black Tips team. And then we look over at kicker, because I think it's important to note, because some teams don't even have kickers. Castillo is one of the better kickers in the whole league, especially with his contract being more than most kickers. That definitely helps him be one of the better kickers in the league, but because of a rough start to the season, it does look like he's probable to miss out on all-pro teams and maybe even a Pro Bowl selection, but we'll just have to see. Castillo overall, though, very good kicker and was really found his place late in the year and really started drilling those field goals. All right, next question comes from Deli_Franz Wagner. Potential targets for Franz Wagner. Let me go to the Summits, but they have some really good targets. Of course, Alex Cruz Jr. and Shabazz Moses come to mind. They're two dominant receivers. They're 1 and 2, who were both electric all year. Shabazz Moses obviously electric all year, but not just for the Fort Wayne Summits. He's traveled around a bit his rookie year. He started by getting drafted by the Arizona Reapers, ended up getting traded for Quavo Jones to the Austin Bats, and then was finally moved to the Fort Wayne Summits and looks to be a great pickup for Fort Wayne. He's done nothing but excel here in Fort Wayne, and honestly, he's definitely played his best football so far in Fort Wayne with Franz Wagner, who is definitely a most improved candidate. He's been so much better this year than he has been in past years, and the main thing that really improved with him was consistency. He's been a pretty good quarterback when he's at his best, but he was having too many low points and forced to make decisions too quickly that he just wasn't comfortable with. But this season, he still had a lack of an offensive line and forced to make quick decisions, but it seems like he's really settled in to making these quick decisions and not turning the ball over, and overall keeping his completion percentage pretty high, which was very effective. Chase Baez Jr. also helped him out a ton, especially down the stretch in the year, which is where we saw the most upside from Franz Wagner. Once the running game was in there and kind of established, as they got a big bruiser who can also be elusive, really an overall balance back in Chase Baez Jr. It really opened up the passing game a ton. Then going back to the targets, Chase Baez Jr. can also catch the ball well. R.J. Butler, a receiving back, was great receiving all year long. Owen Loktionov, he did seem to be disappointing, especially towards the end of the year, despite a very good first few weeks. And TJ Baswell as well. He was pretty quiet all year long. But again, there's a lot of potential there in some of these late receivers. If they can get their activity up, they can definitely be really good threats again. It's all going to determine on the activity. And Jackson Adams had a resurgent late into the year too. Just as a solid overall tight end, able to be a little bit of a vertical threat, a little bit of a possession guy. Overall, pretty consistent late in the year, which was very good to see. So Franz Wagner definitely has some targets to throw to, and it's definitely an exciting offense in Fort Wayne. So the next question comes from Deli.JustinXSummits. Who are some impending free agents that the Summit should target? This is going to be a tough question for me to answer right now because I just don't know exactly who's a free agent. And it would take a while to go through all of these teams because there are definitely some but I will try to go through them quickly. Let's see, we got any of these really popping off the board. Maybe getting Jaheim Turner back would be a really good move. They kind of need that third receiver, but they also don't really want to splurge on a receiver. They don't really need to. A lot of guys on team options over here, I see. Honestly, I'll go more so like positionally, like what they probably need the most is to get another edge for sure. Increase the pass rush, and offensive line is definitely going to be a key. You'd also like to see him get another safety, maybe replace Redmond, as Redmond wasn't that good down the stretch. He was very inconsistent activity-wise. So, but offensive line and edge would be their biggest concerns. So, and the next question is Franz Wagner season summary, and this is coming from Deli_Franz Wagner. Let's quickly check his stats out because he was very good overall. Definitely a huge improvement on last season. I can even check out his completion percentage. I think he finished top 10, which means I will have the top 10 on this. Yep, he was third in the league in completion percentage with 62.59. 338 for 540, so a very good completion percentage, especially comparatively to the league. 28 touchdowns to 8 interceptions is by far Wagner's best mark yet to this point in his career. As a runner, he also was pretty effective and about as effective as he's been while keeping the passing numbers up, which is really good to see with his 69 carries, 326 yards, and 4 touchdowns. Just missed out on the 4,000 passing yards mark, but that's more so a sign of the weak offensive line, just the ability they can't really throw the ball down the field because he doesn't have time for a lot of these plays to develop fully. But Wagner overall had a great season. Definitely really excited to see where he goes next season, especially after the late season bloom he saw where he and the Summits just took it to a new level and really looked like an elite team, very competent, like a whole new Summits team that we've just never seen before. And this kind of leads us perfectly into the next question, which is Franz Wagner projections for next season. Deli_Franz Wagner asked that once again. And I would say based on these numbers, it definitely looks like he's only going to get better. The Summits management's in a really good place, it looks like, so I would expect them to only get better. This is a type of team that definitely seems like they could take that London Monarchs jump from mediocrity to really being a top team right away and compete for a Deli Bowl next season. And I think that all starts and ends with Franz Wagner and how his play will be. But being with what a superstar he was this year, I expect them to try to improve the offensive line to give him more time to throw. And I think if they do that, I mean, that's going to be the biggest determining factor for how well he does next season. Because the targets are there, the support, the running game as a support is there. But I'm going to go on the notion that they at least improve the offensive line somewhat, help him out, probably get him a better receiver 3 at least, and I'm going to guess that he has about 35 touchdowns, probably about 10 interceptions, but on more attempts, probably with about a higher completion percentage. I'd guess around 64%, and I'd guess about 42 to 43, maybe even 4,400 yards. And as a runner, he probably decreases a bit because of the more passing he would have. But the improved offensive line also has the ability to balance that out. But I'll guess about 300 yards and about 4 touchdowns again. The next question comes from Master.Deli. How likely is it that Master makes a push for Defensive Player of the Year in year 2? And this is going right back to the Summits, a very exciting young team. And they have pieces defensively too, not just Franz Wagner. And I would say it's definitely not a bad chance. He looks like a very strong Defensive Rookie of the Year candidate this year. Might even find his way onto an All-Pro team due to the lack of linebacker play this year. He definitely was one of the better linebackers all year long. And with the player model of Darius Leonard, that does seem to be very fitting with how good he was early in his career. So I definitely think there's a chance Master makes a push for Defensive Player of the Year in year 2, and definitely more so if the Summits do succeed to the level of like being a 13-3, 12-4 team. I assume Master would have a very big role in that. Especially since he's kind of counted on as defensive leader over there with a bit of a regression from Ethan Eklund. Master really has stepped into that star role for the Summits defense. And I think that there's definitely a solid chance that he does make a push for Defensive Player of the Year in his year 2 season. The next question comes from Master.Deli again, and it's Summits needs/thoughts. So I kind of talked about this team a little bit, so I'm going to just kind of keep it short and simple. Very good team. Looks like they can make that Monarchs-like jump to be a really good team next year and even compete for a Deli Bowl. I can definitely see them competing for the division even, despite being in a really tough division. They're with the Dogs and the Bats. Let me just double check to make sure I'm right. Yeah, they're with the Dogs and the Bats, so very tough division, but I can definitely see them competing for it next year. I mean, we all saw what they did in the second half of the year, and they were dangerous, absolutely. I believe they finished the season 7-1 in their final 8 games, so again, this is not a team to sleep on, despite their record only being 9-7. This is a team that you should immediately watch out for as a contender next year. And assuming the management continues to build on what they've been building on, it looks like this team only has up to go from here. I expect them to make some probable really good moves in the offseason, make the most out of free agency, and that should lead them to more of the promised land. Most likely will be more than a 1 year until they will truly be in the Deli Bowl, because it's just tough to make the Deli Bowl like that. So the question would be, like, can they get over the hump by beating a team like the Tridents or the Dogs, these teams that have been very successful for multiple years? And I'd say at this time it does look like they would have a tough time matching up with like the Dogs or Tridents in a playoff game when they're all giving full game plans. We're getting everything in there and exposing weaknesses. But this team definitely has a lot of potential, and there's a lot of upside for this young team. The next question comes from Master.Deli once again, and the question is, who had a better rookie season, Tyler Master Sr. or Master the Third, aka Tyler Master the Third? And both of them had really good rookie seasons. I would check the league history, but I already have, I think, the awards written in, so I'm not going to do that. But I think Tyler Master Sr. won Offensive Rookie of the Year. And there's a potential chance that Master III wins Defensive Rookie of the Year. He's definitely a strong candidate there. Him and Millie Bobby Brown being the two primary candidates at this point, it looks like. But I would probably give the edge to Tyler Master III just because he had a kind of a tougher task. Tyler Master on that Sandstorms team, he was immediately the wide receiver 1 for a rebuilding team. There wasn't really much pressure on him, and he was able to really just go out there and ball out with a young quarterback and Jacob Tarter. But for the linebacker, for Master III, it was definitely a little more tricky, being that he was on the Summits, a team that was not expected to do anything, that's had a lot of not success in their past. So the expectations weren't the highest, and he really was one of the big pieces that helped turn that team around. Again, I know I was pointing to Franz Wagner before as a key piece, but Tyler Master was maybe even as big of a piece, if not a bigger piece, helping that defense really jump to the next level, despite the regression of a superstar like Ethan Eklund. Benji Gardner was a huge help as well. Obviously, he's been a monster for the defense there, but without Tyler Master III, that team's pass defense would just not be the same, and he was really able to keep tight ends at bay against them, which is a problem they've had over the years with their lack of safety and linebackers. So overall, Master was definitely an irreplaceable player for the Summits team, and a player I definitely expect them to build off of going forward. The next question comes from _Talai.f. And the question is, prize pool next season too? ? Exclamation point. So I hope so. It's probably not going to be as big because I did kind of put all my money into this season, trying to make it really good, and then kind of hoping to see how that banks. But so it probably won't be as big. But I do really want there to be a prize pool. I think that adds to the fun of the league and really adds to the excitement of the league and makes it more so like what people feel like it's like a good way to spend your time, because I want it to be fun and I want everyone to enjoy it in every way, and everyone enjoys money, let's not lie here. So I thought it would be a great addition. I do really want to keep it around, and I also think it's a really awesome addition that we're going to be able to donate to charities, and we're really going to be able to make a positive mark in the world, despite just being a sim league on Instagram at this point. I really envision us having making a real mark, making a difference, even if it's a small difference at this point. I think the total that's going to be forced to be donated is going to be 400 in year one with the 20%. So I think 400 going to a bunch of different charities that a bunch of different people care about is really positive and really going to make a big difference, because not only will we be able to help out those charities, we'll be able to help out those people that win and get to donate. We get to help out the causes that they find most fitting, the causes that they want to donate to. And I think overall it's just a really good thing. So I really do hope we have the prize pool going forward for not just next season, but for future seasons. But it does look like we're probably going to have to cut it back because I just don't have $2,000 again. But no matter what, it was really fun doing it this season, so I really appreciate everyone coming along for the ride this season. Again, definitely plan on it being next season a prize pot as well, but probably won't be 2,000 unless we have a sudden spike in sales, which is probably unlikely. Alright, the next question comes from Black Tips Waves St. John's, and his question is thoughts on Marcus Jones and can he win the MIP? Let me quickly check his stats. He was traded obviously from the Little Rock Pirates, which is where he signed in the offseason, traded to the Austin Bats. And Marcus Jones was a really good player, and the biggest thing that Marcus Jones saw in his improvement and in his case for most improved player was the decrease in turnovers, which just allowed him to flow much better offensively. Let me check his completion percentage. I know he was up here. Yeah, he's 10th at 50. We'll call it 60% with 332 for 554. He eclipsed that 4,000 passing yards, which is really effective. You can see his yards per attempt is much higher than a lot more in the league, despite the lower completion percentage comparatively to some of the other starters. Again, still top 10, still top 50%. As a runner, he was pretty effective too, with 345 yards, 5 touchdowns, which helped him to a total of 35 touchdowns to 5 interceptions. That ratio is very good, and that's definitely going to keep him in strong consideration for the most improved player. It looks like he's going to have Franz Wagner as a primary quarterback candidate to battle for that award with. It looks like Uno Jones is going to be in there as a primary candidate on the other side of the ball. So it's going to be tough to compare the quarterbacks to the cornerbacks, but he definitely has a strong case for it, and there's definitely a lot of potential that he can end up being the one to get that award. And the final question comes from Mr. Jerry.Pringle_. Can me and you go live together with Baez? Potentially. I definitely want to get more involved in community by going live and producing content like this, like these podcasts or videos, because I really want the Deli content to be. I want there to always be more. I don't want to necessarily flood it and make there be too much Deli content and saturate the market. But I also want there to be a ton where there are always interesting things to do in Deli, and there's always more. That is always my goal with the league, so I definitely want to keep it fresh. So I can definitely try to go live with you at some point. I am pretty busy with the league, as you can kind of see. I'm usually doing something with the league in my time or getting homework done in a rush. But I can definitely try to go live with y'all at some point for sure. All right, that's gonna wrap up the Deli podcast. That was a lot of talking straight, but it was really fun. I really enjoyed answering you guys' questions. Again, I want to thank everyone for being involved in this Deli League season 38, 37. I can't believe we've done 37 full seasons, and this one, I don't think that anyone won't. I hope no one doesn't believe me here, but I think that this was our best season yet. I mean, as you can see, 750 pages of scripts, not double spaced or anything. Nothing here is fake. I even scrolled down to show y'all, but it's all, and I mean, a lot of work for sure, and it leaves me speechless right there. But again, there's really nothing I'd rather be doing. I love this community, and I love what I think we're really building here in Delhi. Like I said before, I really like the overall sentiment that I think we're going to be able to achieve and able to help out like people in the real world and really make a difference via our league. So I'm just really excited for the future of Delhi, really optimistic, and I can't thank you guys enough for being in the league, participating in the league with me and all the other people in the league and making Delhi what it is today. So I really want to thank you guys all for that because it really starts and ends with you guys being great members in the league, being respectful, and overall just being a positive influence and positive aspect in each other's lives. So I really want to thank you guys. So yep, that's going to conclude this episode of the Deli podcast. Once again, thank you all for a great year 37 season. It was wonderful. I had a lot of fun. It was a lot of work, and I know it took a while. Not sure if we're going to try to cut down time, what we're going to do. We're going to have votes in the off season to really determine some of these things and really try to, puncture out all these flaws in the league because we're always, working to improve and working to improve involve you guys and telling me what you guys think. But I'm optimistic about the future of this league. I think this was such a good season, such a successful season, and I'm so excited to see what the future of Delhi holds. So again, thank you all for watching. Thank you all for being in the league, and have a great day. Peace.